Hey everyone!
Hello, everybody. Woo. Welcome to Dark
Apocalypse. Wrong day of the week. It is the Tabletop
wrong
Hour.
Show.
I'm Adam Harry.
Tabletop Hour. I'm Larry Vella. How are you guys doing? Welcome back. Thank you all so much. It is Monday.
Yeah, not Thursday.
Not
Monday.
Thursday. Not
Thursday is
Thursday.
when we do the Dark Apocrypha.
Thursday is when we do the Dark Apocrypha. Yep, it is. Oh, but by the way, really quickly, we have a very special little note here for all you guys. This Thursday, Dark Apocrypha, Sisters of Battle. New sisters. Come and watch the new sisters.
With old models.
With old models. There are no new models. Yes, we have a giant sisters army. We even have all the weird crazy stuff because like our sisters army is old. So we have like 3 penitent engines. We got Repentia. We got all the weird stuff. Yeah. So all the stuff they've all been sitting on our shelves for like 10 years.
Yeah.
But they're
coming.
The
last time we had a book?
They're coming out
12th of Never. That's
coming out Thursday. So come on Thursday and watch them beat up on somebody. So that's going to be, and we're pretty sure Goat Boy's going to be involved too.
There you go.
He better be.
Yep.
He hates sisters, so they'll be fighting him.
Makes sense. Makes
it'll be
sense
good.
To me.
All right, so today we have
Chapter
approved. It's the whatever weird Lost in the Warp issue happened all over the world is now resolved. We have our copy of Chapter approved. We got it. We're here. It's crazy. It is. It's pretty thick. It's a thick book. It's thicker than the 2017 version of it.
Yeah. There's a codex in there as well.
It's got a ton of stuff in it, and everything is good. Really, really does kind of reform the game, no matter what you want to do, from casual play to narrative to match play. So we got that, and then
there's also in the studio.
Dun.
Wrath and Rapture. Yes.
Sounds like lightning.
Realm of Chaos, Wrath and Rapture, which of course has the Khorne and Slaanesh. We've got some of the models are out getting worked on. Do we still have everything? Or
no, they're made. We're not going to show you the models. We'll go over all the books that are in here. I mean, there's pictures of the models everywhere.
Yeah.
So, and
we've got pictures of the models if you want to go check them out on our website.
There's
DollarSouls.net.
There it is.
We'll be going through what's in that in terms of like the books and stuff. We've also got Vigilus Defiant down here.
There's so much
questions
stuff
about this stuff.
Yeah, so we want to talk to you guys. We want questions. Start queuing them up for Mars. She's keeping everything running over there. All of our Twitch and Bulls regulars, come on in, have fun. Welcome back.
Yeah.
All right, so just start queuing stuff up for Mars. She'll get them to us. Let's start with what do you want to start with on
Chapter Approved
because it's crazy.
Has so much cool stuff in there. Let's talk about not points for a bit because I know, like everybody wants to know points. The book's out, so you can get your hands on the points now.
That is correct. You can go to your store and buy it, and it's cheap.
Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff, and we know obviously the Sisters of Battle in here. What was there anything else that was like a big shocking reveal?
There's 12 entirely new sets of match play missions.
12
in here. So the core rulebook has 12, and now there's 12 more. So just really quickly, so everyone in the world who is watching us is clear. Games Workshop, maybe you've heard of them, company in England, make this game. It's called Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah. I think I've heard of them.
They say that there's 3 different ways they can play their game that they list in their rulebook. Open play, do whatever the heck you want with your toys. Yay. Narrative play, invent cool themed missions totally based on the fluff and play.
I like
or
that.
Matched play, how to use how the manufacturer says you should play their game competitively if you want to play it competitively. Ta-da! In the core rulebook, they give you 12 different missions that they say, hey, this is what you should use to play our game competitively, and then they just doubled it with 12 more.
Yeah.
And some of the missions in here have really interesting victory conditions that we've never seen before. So once again, kind of pushing the meta in different directions. And then they've also made the deck of cards for the
Maelstrom missions,
Only War deck.
Only War,
deck. So which are also designed for match play. So Games Workshop has made a giant amount now of missions that they are specifically saying this is how we intend our product to be played competitively if you want to play it competitively. And they're definitely saying they're pushing it in different directions. The competitive scene outside of Games Workshop stores doesn't use any of it. So
0.
that is going to be an oncoming.
Maybe like 3 of them.
So what I'm hoping is happening is that we're continuing to see Games Workshop. They're certainly not giving up on it. They're continuing to say this is how our game is intended to be played competitively. Yeah. So hopefully we're going to start seeing some of these things starting to kind of penetrate that bubble and kind of push their way through the wall. We're going to start seeing, if not the missions verbatim, but lots of elements from these missions make it into major events and competitive events. I'm sure we're going to see these things verbatim at Games Workshop.
Yeah.
Events
So
themselves.
I totally thought you were just going to say like a one sentence thing and be like, yeah, this was the biggest reveal, but you went like a whole soapbox.
I did.
But before we get into what I think that the biggest thing was,
I'm done.
Mars.
I'm off my soapbox.
We had a question.
We have a specific question.
Yes.
Chapter approved.
Yes.
And I'm going to totally butcher this character's name. I apologize in advance.
Okay.
Are there any drops for Necron HQ and Rakire the Traveler?
The Traveler. Yes. Are there drops? Are you tracking?
All right. So we're not.
Drops?
So we're not going to.
Yes.
We're not going to talk about deltas because that's going back and forth. We have to pull like 3 different books out and see.
So can we talk about?
We'll just tell you
what it is in the book right now.
Correct. So if you can ask us points and we'll just look at them and tell you either this is the new one, and if it's not in this book, then it's the same as in the Codex.
Necron units.
Anchorin the Traveler.
Yeah, I don't see the unit. No,
if he is not in there, then his points are unchanged.
He looks like the exact same because there's the unit list. They got the Satan. They've got the Eliminator, the Stormlord.
Yes. So
Nemesaur, Tarzan the Trazan the Infinites there, Vanguard Oberon, but there is no Traveler.
Right.
Sorry.
So he is unchanged. He is
from whatever the latest points were.
Well, whatever he is in the Codex. He is. Important point for Chapter Approved 2018. This is the only book you need for points outside of your Codex. So if something was changed, if they changed points in 2017 and then the points from 2017, they're happy with them, they also appear in this book. So this book lists all point deltas from the codexes. So the only thing you need is this book. Is 2018 and your codex.
So if you have the 2017 book, you don't need it anymore because all the points that were changed in here are also in here.
Correct.
And if they're changed further, this is the most current version anyway.
Right.
So all these changes also in here.
Right. Do not need them.
Yeah. So there you go. So
the Traveler is unchanged.
Yeah. My biggest thing from this book that I thought was one of the biggest kind of shockers for me, if I can get on my soapbox, was the inclusion of the Primaris intercessors change.
Yes,
their whole data sheet changed, and it wasn't just for Ultramarines; it was for every version.
Yes,
so that impacts Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Dark Angels, all of the other legions. Chapters.
Everyone except Death Watch because they're weird.
Death Watch are weird. Good weird, but weird nonetheless. So the intercessors changed. They got the option to have power fists.
Yes.
And the power fists are now 9 points versus like 12 points or something.
So they're 3 points cheaper per power fist.
Intercessors are also 17 points a model.
That's an extra point. Lower.
They started at 20 points in Codex Space Marines.
Yep.
Dropped to 18 points.
18 points in 2017.
And now they're 17 points a pop. They're just keeping cheaper.
And I think I think at this point they have successfully balanced.
It's still,
17 feels right.
Yeah, but the big thing for me was everybody has a sergeant that can take a power fist,
a power
weapon, so power sword or whatever, power fist. They're getting closer and closer, in not only points but also options to the tactical Marines. I don't know.
They can't take heavy weapons.
They can't take heavy weapon or special weapon yet.
Give it time.
I mean, Larry and I were talking about this earlier today. We think like 2, maybe 3 codexes from now, intercessors are just going to be TAC Marines, and that's going to be that.
Yeah, probably.
So we'll see.
We have another question. What do we got?
Some critics to Chapter Approved say that point drops for everyone means no change to the meta, just a reason to buy more models. What do you guys think about that?
I think, yes, that is true.
That's 100% true.
But there wasn't points drops to everyone.
That's the
catch. If you just said, hey, everyone, in general, it looks like they did. There's a lot of point drops in this, but there was a lot of point drops in 2017 also. So most of those carried over. it does look like what they did is if you break up all the armies of 40k into, the power armies, we all know who those are. There's about 3 or 4 of them. And then there's the armies that were way on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then there's this big kind of set in the middle. And it looks like what they did is they took the bottom third armies, the ones that were just, Grey Knights and, guys like that, who no one's playing. And they got all of those guys, and they just gave them across the board point drops.
And
so
ideally, the idea is to bring the bottom tier up towards the middle. And I think you should squash the top tier down towards the middle too.
And they did. So
they did it in other ways.
Yeah, so we saw cultists going up in points. We saw some of the Eldar power units going up in points.
Yeah. So
like Dark Reapers went up in points. So they're taking the scale of 40k that used to be, these were the power armies and these were the lowest tier armies, and they're kind of doing this. Yeah. Which is fine, obviously, in an ideal world, they're all going to be equal in the middle, but that's never going to happen. So the key is just to kind of, let's take, that top 20% on both sides and pull them towards the middle. And it looks like that's what this book has done.
Yeah. I'm also checking real fast. But yeah, the one of the examples that Larry said mentioned cults, the cultists going up in point. Like, that's a big deal because...
It's a huge deal because they were so cheap to begin with.
They were so cheap.
That every point is a big percentage increase.
Because people were taking 100 of those guys.
Yeah. How much are cultists now?
I think they went up from like 4 to 5 points. I'm pulling that up right now.
Yeah, I'm pulling up cultists now.
But, if it were the case that all of the armies just got points drops across the board, then you're absolutely right. Then it wouldn't be the point. It wouldn't be... You're just fielding more models at that point. If we're playing a 2,000 point game... still, but now everything's 1,500 points, and we have an extra 500 points. The game's just going to take longer.
Cultists weren't in here, so they were the original points from the Chaos Marines.
But the fact that they actually didn't just do complete points drops across the board.
And what do they cost now? 6 or 5?
Chaos Marines.
Cultists.
Yeah, Chaos Marines.
I believe they went up.
Cultists went to 5 points a pop.
And there are 4. So that's a 25% increase.
Yeah,
that's huge. That is a giant.
If you were taking 100 cultists now for 400 points, now they're 500 points.
Right. So right, and that's the thing. When you're dealing with those ultra cheap points units, militasts, conscripts. Yeah. Well, cultists got the conscript treatment. That's exactly what happened last year. Was conscripts were being abused in Astra Militarum, and they were like, no, and they upped them 1 point, and guess what?
Everybody's like, oh,
we're just going to use tactical. We're just going to use infantry squads now. So,
I'm curious about that too because. I still don't know if they're pointed exactly correct because points don't take into account stratagems you can use on them.
Yep.
And kind of the combos. They should.
And force org slots.
Yeah,
which also deeply affect the usefulness of
a troop. A cheap unit in troops is worth much more in terms of points efficiency than a cheap unit in elites. It's a whole thing. But no, I think. The points don't often reflect their usefulness in terms of like the stratagems that can be used on them. Yep. Because those cultists can cycle due to some stratagems.
You can do a bunch of weird stuff with them.
Yeah, and then also just it's really hard to balance across the board when you combo say like Poxwalkers next to cultist, and you do like the Poxwalker Blossom stuff like that.
Yep.
So, I also believe that points changes aren't going to change player behavior or attitude. So that's a whole other thing.
They'll change the armies that competitive players build, but they will nothing will ever change competitive player attitude. That's just
competitive match play. They're going to build the best thing they possibly can. Right. That's just what those guys like to do, and hey, more power to them.
Right, and if you're Games Workshop, their job is just to, if everyone's going to do that, the shark is going to swim and it's going to eat fish. That's what it does.
Yeah.
So, they need to make sure that what things are possible.
Yeah.
Are contained within, a more level playing field.
Yeah, and it's extremely difficult to balance. I don't envy GW's job in that regard, even with the playtesting feedback that they're getting. A lot of their playtesters, again, as far as we know, come from the competitive scene anyway. Right. So a lot of that feedback they're getting
around the world
is match play competitive feedback, which is good because I do believe that if you have a game balanced for competitive play, then the casual players and the guys playing narrative can still play for fun because the rule set should be tight enough to handle competitive.
Right. It all trickles down.
It trickles down. Yeah.
Sisters.
Yeah.
Let's talk about sisters.
Do we have to?
Yes, we do.
All right.
All right. So the Sisters Codex, it is in here. The Beta Codex.
Yeah.
I'm gonna actually, while you're looking through that, I'm gonna pull out Index Imperium 2, which is where the previous incarnation of Sisters are, and the Sisters Codex.
It's a whole like they got data sheets and everything. I think really this is a codex. The only thing it's missing is like the modeling pages, because this has got like 2 versus like the 10-page spread you'd see in a real codex, and then like the unit pages for the pages of unit descriptions for each unit and background. But other than that, this has got like a 3-4 pages of lore for the Sisters, just to kind of get your headspace right, and then it goes right into all of the Sisters rules in a data sheet form.
So they've done a lot of really interesting things with the Sisters Codex. First of all, some of the overt shenanigans they got rid of. Like, you're not seeing the free moves anymore. So like Celestine isn't doing those, is no longer going to be doing the crazy the crazy double charge, and I'm just like anywhere on the board I want to. Yeah. So they got rid of that, which is good. The Acts of Faith, I really like the Acts of Faith. I think they're fine. They're what they've always been, which is Sisters have a pool of ability. They have so many times during the game that they get to ignore the rules.
I'm biased.
Someone hates the Ministorum.
I do.
This guy.
Look, I don't have anything against the models or anything like that. I hate them from a purely mechanical standpoint.
Just rules.
Just the rules. I hate Sisters, the faith point system. I hate it so much. So much.
The army is pretty interesting in that while it is billed as a Sisters Codex, it actually, if you compare it to Index Imperium 2, it combines it combines the Adeptus Sororitas with the Adeptus Ministorum list.
Right. Which they should do anyway.
So you get Uriah Jacobus, you get the priests, you also get, they found a place to put Crusaders, Death Cult Assassins, Flagellants, and Penitent Engines. All of those get pulled in there.
What is it? The priests, the missionaries.
Right. And it's pretty interesting if you go look at them. Flip a little.
Preachers are also in
flip
here.
Over
Crusaders,
to
Hospitallers.
Flip over to Archiflagellants. All of those things that used to be part of the Ministorum now have a new thing, which is they're called Battle Conclave.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ecclesiarchy Battle Conclave.
Yeah.
So they have a new keyword, which is interesting because things that are Ecclesiarchy Battle Conclaves, you can put. There's rules for how many of those you can put into detachments. So you can't go totally crazy with them.
Yeah.
But you can add them in detachments with Sororitas, and it doesn't mess up. It doesn't invalidate the whole detachment, so you can still have. So they did. There's a lot. It's not just a literal translation, and they have done a lot of work on lots of these units. Sure. One thing I really liked is they realized that since the initial game came out, that anything that does D3 hits basically is junk, and no one will take it. So they have a whole panel in there saying, yes, we are aware that hand flamers suck, and no one was taking hand flamers. So they've increased hand flamers from D3 hits to D6 hits, which is great. And they specifically say this affects all. It's in this book, but this affects the entire game. Anyone anywhere who has a hand flamer, you use the new stat. So it's just twice as good for the same points. So hooray!
Which I mean, good.
Which is great. This is definitely the most love Sisters have gotten in 30 years. This is the first time they've ever gotten rules for the different conclaves.
Yeah. I mean,
and the conclave rules are good.
Yeah, the conclave rules are pretty solid. The last time the Sisters had a real codex was like 2nd edition. So, and they had like the 3rd edition version, but that was
Witch Hunters. Witch Hunters was a weird codex.
Yeah, it wasn't great. So this,
I mean, primarily it's the same thing. You're going to have a toughness 3 army.
Yeah.
They have power armor. They're going to be
shooting. It is a short range.
It is a short to medium range army, especially now in 8th edition. It's going to have a gazillion flamers on it. The big thing now is that you have your conclaves. So the big thing is you have your
conclaves, aka chapter tactics.
Yep, and then you have your acts of faith, and the acts of faith you can perform each act of faith once per turn. and it has a D6. You roll a single D6, you pick the unit it affects, and that Act of Faith has a target. You have to roll that number or higher. And there are lots of stratagems, relics, special abilities, and unit abilities that give you modifiers to that roll.
Yeah.
So some of them seem high, but then you're like, well...
You can get a +2 or +3 and
exactly,
then drop it to...
Exactly. Then you're like, well, it's this type of unit, so I get a +1, and then I have this relic within 12 inches, that's another +1, and then suddenly those Acts of Faith roll become much easier to make, which is cool. It's a very aura-centric army. I think that this army fundamentally is... this is an army, so many things have auras and affect things next to them. I think this is an army that kind of reminds me of Infantry Dark Angels with the shield.
Yeah, I was going to say they all have Shield of Faith.
It's gonna be a lot of, this army is going to cast Lup. And, this is an army that's going to spread.
Yeah.
I mean, it may have parts of it, like Seraphim and the Saint and people who will kind of
go
deep stripe in.
Yeah.
But the main core of the army is going to stay together in a big block and just advance slowly. Probably actually closer to the way Necrons play.
But the thing is, they still have some ways to get a surprising amount of speed out of non-Seraphim units, so they can jump out and surprise you if you're not prepared for it. So.
In general, one of the things this army feels very much like the past Sisters armies in the future, which is units are relatively cheap, which means you're going to have a medium to high body count.
Yeah.
You're going to have your toughness 3, but you have good armor, especially in 8th edition if you're using cover well. This is an army.
You're going to have your 6-up involved anyway.
What Sisters? I was talking with Goat Boy about this. Sisters are a weird army in that Sisters don't. Traditionally have never been a power army. They don't win, but when you play games against Sisters armies are tenacious and they're tough.
Yeah.
So you tend to get games that you get minor victories or minor losses. They pull things down towards the middle. It's really difficult to table a Sisters army.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for them to table you.
Yeah.
So what you get is you get just
it's a tar pit.
Right. You get a stubborn, tough game where you're fighting at close quarters, and even if you win, your army tends to come out really beat up against Sisters.
Yeah.
So at a competitive tournament level, Sisters armies, they're kind of a spoiler army.
They can be, yeah.
If you come to a table against a lot of other armies, you're like, okay, cool. Here's my, I can mentally go through the process to figure out how am I going to table this army or prevent myself from getting tabled. But when you're up against a Sisters army, you're just like, ugh, I'm just going to get punched.
Give me a slogfest.
I'm going to get punched in the face, and one of us is going to eke out a win.
Which that might be fine for a game, a game on game night, that might be fine. But when you're playing a tournament, you have to play 5 games or 6 games or 10 games or whatever, and you're like, that one game, you're just like, ugh.
Hey, the Sisters army is for the faithful. And faith requires painful sacrifice.
Yeah. Plus, they're just... If they're making those Shield of Faith saves, it's just going to be annoying. You're just not dying, and I needed you to die, and you're just not going to die.
Nope. Right, exactly. Because a Sisters army using its Acts of Faith well is always able to... It's a different mechanic than command points. Because with command points, you often see an army builds up a big pool of command points, and then they will
dump them
as quickly as they can on turn 1 and 2, because they want to spend the command points to get an early advantage and then keep that advantage through the rest of the game to win. With Sisters, you get Acts of Faith, and they tend to basically kind of hoard them. They'll use a couple early game to protect themselves, but then there'll be some critical turn mid game, turn 2, 3, 4, somewhere in there, normally 3 or 4, because it takes the army a time to get really stuck in, because it's not a super fast army and it's not a really long range army. But then once they get stuck in, they've traditionally over the years had an ability to just say, okay, cool, this is the critical turn, I'm going to dump all my faith points now mid game, and just all my units are just going to overperform,
it's all in.
And all of your attacks against me are going to underperform. I'm going to buff all my saves. I'm going to get rerolls on everything, and I'm going to reroll all my hits, and I'm going to make so it's a really, and then if you can survive that and weather it, then you can then at point blank range the army is relatively brittle, but lots of armies can't survive that.
Well, the other thing too is this. I don't think they can do that as well in this version of the Codex.
Because they can only use the one Act of Faith.
You get one. They can only use one
Act of Faith.
Yeah, per Act of Faith, you can only use one per turn. And
sure. But they're still kind of mean.
They also have access to everything else everybody else has.
Right.
So
they're going to
stratagems.
Right. They're going to be dumping all their stratagems as well.
So they're going to be able to do that too. So it's not like it's one or the other. It's not like, oh, your command points work just mid-game now instead of beginning game. No, they're going to do the command point stuff in turn 1 and 2 as well, and then they're going to hit you with a follow-up with the faith points where they can activate all these things. And my problem with it is that there's no way to stop them other than to just hope that your opponent rolls
because acts of faith aren't psychic powers.
Yeah, they're not psychic powers. You just hope that your opponent rolls bad.
And they're not stratagem. So like there's no agents of Vect
you
can use to counter it, and there's no deny the witch. So
you can't even have like two sisters cancel each other out. Like they just go off.
They're both equally faithful.
Sure. That's what we'll call it. But yeah,
So let's go over some of the stratagems that you like, and then a couple of the...
I don't like any other stratagems.
Oh my gosh.
I told you I hate this army. From a rules standpoint, I'm just not a fan. So they can do stuff like the order conviction. So again, not Imperial Guard orders,
right?
But the order of the
different
Valorous Heart
different
or Our Lady, Our Martyred Lady, the organizational orders.
Right. Let's go over.
I think those are cool. They're interesting. For instance, the Ebon Chalice, that one's the +1 to all of their tests of faith, which is what you use to activate your faith points stuff.
Right, that's a really good one.
That's just a flat +1 to every unit from the Ebon Chalice. So that's what Larry was talking about. Some of these might sound high, but they're really not that hard to do.
Because most of these things go off on like a 4. They're like a 4. It's 3s, 4s, and 5s.
Yeah.
So they go off roughly half the time.
Yeah.
But about 50% of Sisters units have a rule to where they get a +1 anyway.
Yeah.
So half of the Sisters, basically everything except like the default kind of Battle Sisters, like the elite units get bonuses on that roll anyway. Then if you're running Ebon Chalice, now they're all +2s on those rolls. Yeah. So they're gonna if you're playing Ebon Chalice, you're never gonna fail. It's gonna be really rare to fail.
It's gonna be very rare. Yeah. There was the other thing too.
I really like the Bloody Rose.
Bloody Rose.
I think Bloody
that one
Rose
is to add 1 strength to attacks and strength and attacks characteristics for this model. Anytime they charge or charge or perform a hero.
So that makes them all
furious charge.
That makes them all strength 4 and 2 attacks.
But some of them have 3
think
attacks.
about what that does to Sisters Repentia.
Yeah.
Who are Sororitas.
Yeah. They have 2 attacks base.
So that makes them 3 attacks.
At strength 4. It's only strength 4.
No, but then they have Vicious, which doubles it.
Yeah.
So they're hitting at now multiplication happens before addition.
Right. So there's strength 7.
Right. So that's 3 strength 7 attacks.
Yeah. And they're hitting on 4s because you do subtract 1 to the hit rolls. So weapon skill 3 base.
But then it's -2 AP, 2 damage.
Yeah.
Flat 2 damage.
By the way, flat 2 damage is pretty good.
Yeah, those ladies, Repentia, are gonna Bloody Rose Repentia are gonna be mean.
Yeah, I mean,
I like them.
Yeah,
I like them a lot.
Yeah, just across the board. The other one that
missionaries and priests still do the same thing.
Yeah.
So those are going to be your primary
attacks.
Those are going to be your +1 attack auras. So you put those next to Repentia. Yeah. Now they have another attack. You know, you can get those people up to you can get them up to 4 attacks easily.
Yeah.
Per on the charge.
Valorous Heart's interesting as well because that's the 6-up Film of Pain every time you lose a wound.
Yeah.
Which again, couple that with their 6-up invulnerable save, and you've got some super resilient units that are just again maybe not gonna blow you off the table with firepower. It's just gonna be really annoying to deal with.
I'm really curious to see now that this is a viable codex. I'll put it that way. This is not gonna be like a lame weak pushover codex.
Yeah.
One way or the other. So I'm interested to see how this is gonna work in modern 8th edition as part of the Imperial soup. I'm curious to see I'm really curious to see whether you can do things the sisters they're not super mobile and they're kind of squishy, but I'd be really interested. I'm curious about playing a fusion army that's mainly sisters with a little bit of Custodes.
Yeah,
to address the weak areas.
I could see sisters replacing the guard battalion.
Sure.
I could see people taking the soup list. A knight, Lord of War, Supreme Detachment or whatever.
Right, you throw in a knight behind
them. You throw in the sisters as the chunk, and then the heavy hitting. Either Smash Captains from Blood Angels or Adeptus Custodes. I think Custodes on jet bikes would be really cool.
Yeah, you take a squad of Virtus Praetors just to kind of run,
to fly around and stab stuff.
And do some stabbing, and and all of a sudden you're I can't just stay because that has traditionally been the way to deal with sisters is when you see sisters. A smart player says, turn 1, kill the exorcists.
Kill the exorcists
right away. Do whatever it takes to kill the exorcists, and then I'm just going to stay back and shoot them. Yeah. I'm just not going to get within 12 inches. I'll do whatever I have to. Yeah. But if you throw a knight back there who can reach across the table and mess with you, and you have to deal with him, or you throw a squad of
jet bikes,
on
jet bikes, man.
Yeah, of guys on jet bikes. You can't ignore those. Those are going to be in your face, messing with your stuff on turn 1.
Oh yeah.
And while you're killing them, or running away from them, or they're just going to go to parts of the board you would run away from to pin you in place.
I'm excited to see Celestine with not just Celestine to represent the sisters. I think that'll be nice. Because she's been flying solo. Well, a trio of them, but it'll be nice to see some other units representing sisters for a little bit. Just it'll be a canonist here, there, a squad of sisters.
True. You might actually
battle sister squad.
Not see Celestine.
She won't only show up in the Supreme Command Attachment, is what I'm saying. You'll actually see, hey, that's like a whole patrol detachment now of sisters instead of just an HQ unit. That would be nice.
Do we have any sisters questions? Talk to us about sisters. This is what everyone's been waiting for 9 months. The entire community has been losing their minds.
All 10 sisters players out there.
Apparently the folks in chat agree with Adam because they have no questions right now.
All right.
Thank you, chat.
You are correct. Thank you, chat. I do agree that I think that what's going to happen is there's going to be a whole lot of theory hammer happening because, let's be realistic, almost nobody has a sisters army. The only way to get a sisters army is you have to have an entire, very expensive collection now.
Oh, man.
Of really ancient... They were awesome models. I'm not going to say they weren't awesome models. They were awesome models. They came out in 2nd edition. They came out in
all metal.
They came out in the early 90s. So these models are 20 years old.
We spoke a little too early.
We have a question. What do we got? Tell us. Bring us.
How much are...
I will look it up.
How much are...
It's got a question about battalions, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Need clarification.
Okay.
So the literal question is, how much are men battle sisters coming in at to fill out those battalions?
Oh,
minimum.
The minimum point squads for the battalions?
I will tell you right now. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Oh, that's true. Sure. The
points are actually in the sisters cards.
Is there a sisters version of the Loyal 32? Basically.
Oh God, I hope not.
And you bet there is. Oh, you know what? We're gonna add this. Okay, everyone out there in internet land.
They're this way. The points are actually after the sisters.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
We're gonna build the Loyal 32. We're gonna build the 2 cheapest HQs. These are the Faithful 32.
The Faithful 32.
The Faithful 32.
Here we go.
We're gonna take.
We're breaking the game now. It's not hard.
In real time with everyone out there. Okay, a Battle Sister squad is 5 to 15. Minimum
9 points a pop.
Minimum points
45
is 9.
points.
So 40.
How much is a bolter?
Free.
Okay,
so 45 points. 45 times 3.
For 5.
Someone add that up.
Yep.
45 times 3.
It's 135.
100. Yes. Okay.
Here, I'm gonna keep a running tally. Here we go.
Okay, so we're at 135 for 3 sisters, and then we're gonna look for the cheapest HQ. We need 2 of those, and the cheapest HQ is going to be. We have a Canoness.
45 times 3
Jacobus.
is 135. Yep.
Oh, missionaries.
Missionaries are HQs.
Missionaries are HQs, and I bet missionaries are really cheap.
I don't want to know.
Okay, so it's missionaries or canonesses. Okay. Missionary is 35.
35 base, but what's the weapons?
Yeah, he has a good weapon. Missionary, he has an eviscerator, I think, right? Oh, no, he has a las pistol, a chainsword.
Does any of those cost anything?
No, the chainsword is... No. The grenades don't cost anything. You can give him a...
He's 35 points base.
He's 35 points base. And you're gonna take 2 of him. And the Canoness is 40. We're just gonna be, for variety's sake, because it is possible that you can't take 2 missionaries as your HQs, because there's some weird. There's weird. Let's take a missionary and the Canoness, so it's 35 and 45.
Okay. So we're at 215.
There you go. 215 points gives you
Does
the.
Canoness have any weapons? Bolter's free.
Yeah, they're all free.
It's all free.
It's all free.
215.
215 gives you the Faithful 32, the new hot.
No, it's not even 32. That's only 15
Oh,
models.
it's not 32.
The Faithful 17.
It's the Faithful 17.
There you go.
So they're slightly more expensive on a per model basis than Guard, but the minimum squad size is 5, not 10. So they're probably... I don't remember what the Faithful 32 costs, but I think it's...
Like 5 points.
I think it's cheaper than that.
Yeah.
I think it's about the same.
Yeah.
So,
and I would actually... If you're
200
going to do that, you probably want to run a Sisters battle squad up to at least 10.
Who wants to see Abe write an editorial where he does a compare and contrast of the Faithful 32
That's
versus
probably
the
gonna happen
Loyal?
anyway.
Because that's probably going to happen.
Well, you want to run 10 anyway because they generate faith points that way. So let me pull the rule up here.
Do they not generate faith points?
They do. They do.
If they at minimum size?
It's for every 10 models.
Oh,
So,
yes, correct. Right.
You start with 3, and you get 1 additional faith point for every 10 models with that ability, which is Acts of Faith.
Sure.
So you kind of want to run them in squads of 10 because that each squad is then generating you a faith point.
Well, like as an example, if you have in that one, you would want one of those 3 squads to be 10s. So you could do a 10 because you're at 17 models total.
Sure.
You really want to get it over 20.
You want to get it over 20
to get the extra faith point. So if you did a 10 and 2 5s, that'll give you it won't cost you much more, and you'll get the extra faith.
Yeah, if it was 215 plus another 45 points is 260.
Yeah,
so
it's not much.
Yeah, 260. 260.
260. I like it.
So that gets you 22 models. 22 models.
22.
Which gets you over that 20. You get 2 additional faith points. And, of course, there's ways to get more faith points every time something dies or you kill something, depending on whatever shenanigans you want to do. So,
other things I really like in the Codex, I like I'm actually a fan of Penitent engines. I think Penitent engines are going to have a little mini comeback.
I think they look cool.
They look cool. The model is they're...
It's a nightmare.
It was actually... Yeah, I mean, they're better in resin. They're much better in resin than they were in
metal. Only because they don't weigh 20
pounds.
pounds.
Yeah, it's not like the old Chaos Dread, like they're one of those weird, terrible models to build back in metal because they were really lanky and all their limbs stuck out in different directions.
They're in a class of models that I like to call sock models, meaning that if you put it in a sock, it would work as a home defense weapon.
Absolutely.
Penitent engines were one of those metal models. Dreadnoughts,
Chaos Dreadnoughts.
Yeah. You know, the big weighty models, which also meant that if you ever knocked them off a table or dropped them on accident, they just exploded.
They exploded into a million bits, like the old metal Bloodthirster.
Yeah, that's a good sock model right there. If you could fit the wings in a sock, maybe Scarbrand, but whatever. You put them in a sock, home defense weapon.
So Penitent engines, really good strength, tons of attacks, fast, and they attack twice in the fight phase. So they're like berserkers.
Great.
And they're squads of 1 to 3. I think
they have Zealot too.
They do.
Yeah,
they do. They're great.
Even better.
They are fantastic. I like them. Any final questions on Sisters? We're going to move on past Sisters.
Why don't we talk about the 8?
Let's talk about the 8. That's exactly who we're going to talk about. Okay. Do you like the 8?
I think thematically they look really cool.
The 8 are...
I want to mention this. Actually, they have a really cool spread. From
this entire spread is from
this is
Mock
phenomenal.
Top.
Yeah, I love this spread.
It's from the old Farsight.
It's just cool. They have all 8 of them in their ninja poses and stuff. Do I like the 8 from a game mechanically? I think it's a little unwieldy.
They're very expensive.
1,120 points and a bunch of special characters.
I mean, you do get a Riptide in there.
This is their data sheet pages.
For the 1 unit.
1 unit, 2 page. I think that's a record.
It is.
But it's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're like, move over. I think the people who previously had the most complicated...
Keywords. There's like 37 keyword sections in here. It's not 37.
It is a unit made for rules lawyers.
I don't like that.
It's.
I think, again, thematically, it's also 56 power level.
That's an odd number. They just added them up.
I'm sure they
just added them up.
But it's a little silly. I don't think it's
my favorite part of.
I don't think it's game breaking.
I mean, you're not gonna see like the guy who won Adepticon is running the 8.
It's 8 characters and 14 drones.
Yeah, there's good luck. It's gonna take you a while to chew through the drones.
It'll take you a while to chew through. It's still 1,100 points.
My dream army is the 8 and then all Kroot. That's all Kroot. Just like eat through my 1,000 points of Kroot.
I don't know.
While the 8 kill you.
It's cool looking.
It is cool looking. I like it.
It's really confusing I would think, to run it, but it's just a bunch of special characters.
Yeah, that are all together in a big giant character block, and it's cool. I mean, these
are all of the play that. Go for it. I think thematically painting them all up and having a Farsight conclave, I think it would be rad. But,
I agree.
I don't know if I actually want to play that. Personally, it just seems like a lot of bookkeeping.
I like that the Riptide is actually not a member of the Firecast. He's just a dude. He's an engineer. He's an Earthcast guy who rebelled with Farsight, and he's like, basically he's a who is he? He's Scotty. He's just Scotty. He's just a super engineer dude who's not like a big soldier, but he's just so smart.
I'm gonna get inside the big mech though.
He's so smart, and he's all hot wired it that even though he's not a combat guy, he can run it in combat, and they're like, cool, man. You're awesome.
Know why he can run it in combat, right? Because it's Tau, so it's a simple point-and-click interface.
That's true.
Put a boom.
That's nice. We get Renegade Knights in the book as well, so we get all three of them. You get the normal Knight, you get the Dominus, and the Armiger. So they're all there. I love
those Armigers.
You do love the Armigers.
I think it's cool that Chaos is getting access to the Renegade Knights. I don't know if it's cool that we're going to see more Knights on the table because of it, but hey... They're an option now. Maybe they'll just take each other out and then leave the rest of the fighting to everyone else.
I'm going to go over a couple other things. One thing I saw that actually really surprised me is if you turn towards, I don't remember where it was. It's like page 220, 230. There's in the original hardcover book, there's the 2-page spread that tells you how to use the basic types of Games Workshop terrain in your games. That's the little spread that's like, here's how you use ruins, and here's how you use woods.
Yeah, it looked like this.
It looked like this, except now they added this section, and they didn't mention it at all. I was like, oh, this is really cool. They have updated that section to include all of the terrain kits that they build. So all of the conduits,
manufactorums, and the plasmas,
and it goes all the way over into those weird Eldari Xenos things.
And a lot of this stuff had rules that was probably in the box when you bought the terrain.
Right. So now
they're all codified inside chapter approved.
And it specifically says like these, like you don't purchase these. These are terrain.
Yeah.
But they have rules, and some of their rules are actually pretty interesting. Yeah. So I could see some of these actually, if you guys in your local store or in your club, if you guys really want to kind of, you want a really easy way of kind of locally shifting the meta. Buy a bunch of some of these things because it's going to really, change the way some armies work.
Yeah, buy a bunch of them or actually use the rules that are listed with them. I mean, just enforce those rules and it will change your games.
In particular, where is it? The Eldritch Ruin, which is the Eldritch Ruin. That's the weird giant Eldar rune thing. It looks like the symbol of Ulthwé, but it's giant and plastic. Eldritch Ruin, it's Wraith plastic.
Wraith plastic.
Add 1 to Psychic tests and deny the Witch test for any Psychers within 3 inches of the Eldritch Ruin terrain pieces.
Yeah.
That's just good.
Yeah.
That's really good. And then Imperial statues, and there are multiple kits that have Imperial statues. So there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
If you have Imperial statues and you just kind of lay them around the table, Imperial statues. Any...
Imperium units.
Here it is. When a model targets an enemy infantry unit that has all of its models within 3 inches of an Imperial statuary, the target unit is in cover.
Yep.
And you add 1 to your leadership characteristic. So that's just free cover and
remember, these are statues, right, so they don't normally give you cover, but if you're within 3 inches of it, it counts as cover.
Right, so I'm assuming that they probably did that because people were probably just not using these.
Yeah,
because they were neat thematically, but like in 8th edition, it's all like,
it's really hard to.
Are you 50% obscure? Yeah. No. So then they're like, we need to do something with these. So now they're actually really useful. So they're basically 3-inch radius cover if you're Imperial. I kind of think that's jerky because there's not a non-Imperial version of that. But it's I mean, there should really just be like you can like wrap it in barbed wire and then it does the same thing.
If I push it over, is it a corrupted statue and it's -1 leadership? Come on.
And they have specific rules now for the crates.
Yeah.
The Munitorum crates, they have rules. Those little tiny servo hauler things that came in that with the cranes and the little little caterpillar units. Like everything has rules now that are just effectively
codified
part of the core game. So that's really neat. That was so at the very least, even if you don't own them, you need to know what they do because you better bet you're going to walk up to a table at some point, and one of those things is going to be on the table, and you don't want to be caught with your pants down.
Right.
You don't be like, and then I'm going to wait. What do you mean all those guys get cover? Oh, you didn't see chapter approved, page 62. Well, sucks to be you.
Yeah.
We already talked about the 12. There's
Yep.
the 12 missions in there, and then
actually like the new battle zone stuff too. Those are really geared more towards narrative and open play, but the lava flow, I really want to play a game with a lava flow thing on there. That's where the there's a you put a bunch of markers out on one edge of the board, and then every turn you roll randomly for the distance they traveled, and you draw a line between each one. Any units that don't have fly that are on the other side of the flow are destroyed. Because they're playing the floor is lava, and now we get to do that. There you go. The table is lava.
Looted wagons are in here. That's the only thing that's in the. Actually, it's not the only. There's one more thing.
Custom characters.
In the open play section, we didn't get one like we did last time. We got 3. We have carts, which are basically troop transports.
Right.
Carts, wagons, which are just tanks, and battle fortresses are super heavies. They're the big giant things, and they're of course open play only. They don't give you points for them. Just remember, when Games Workshop says it's open play only, it's your game and you can do whatever the heck you want to. In general, the ratio seems to be 20 to 1.
20 to 25 to 1.
20 to 25 to 1, take it or leave it, is the rough ratio of power level to points. So if you guys want to use these things in your games,
go for it.
Talk
with your opponent, see if they're
cool. It's your game. If you want to run a tournament and allow these things, just figure out how much you think they're worth in points and let people play with them. Why not? Everything else... All the weapons and everything,
stats,
and all the weapons have points because they're just orc weapons.
Yeah, they're not game breaking either.
Right, none of these things are gonna blow the game up.
Yeah.
So.
No! They brought a Bane blade
that they looted
that everybody else can take too. It's not
right.
It's seriously not that bad.
Yeah. Then you get rules for custom characters for open play, which is kind of cool. Once again, if you're running narrative games and everyone likes that, I've run games before where every time everyone started off with crappy characters, and then every time they won a game, they got to roll on a chart, and it's just fun to keep track. And eventually, your guys die. It's just
the veterans section I really like. Well, it's not the veterans, but it's the unit version of the character upgrades.
Yeah,
I really like that whole thing. If you're gonna do a campaign,
that's for a narrative play. Yep.
Yeah, it's called Battle Honors. It's a whole section. There's 4 pages or so of veteran abilities that units can get, and some of them are great, some of them are kind of meh. But it's just the idea that hey, this unit did really well. They're gonna get my battle honors for this round or for this week or whatever their campaign is, and they get some special abilities. Maybe even go back and add some unit laurels or something cool to them to signify that. But then it builds a story as you're playing the narrative, and then afterwards when you're done, you've got a cool looking unit too.
We have a question. What do we got?
Saying custom characters. Can I finally give my IG officers carapace armor?
Oh, let's go see.
It's a 6d6 chart for starters, so that means there's 36 options. And these options are special rules, not necessarily.
Yeah, it's not equipment.
It's not war gear.
Yeah, it's not war gear, but it's a huge amount of special. So,
is there a +1 save? I don't think there is.
There probably resilient. Well, you can get them. You can get a 5-up feel no pain, which is better than carapace armor. I'll take that. But there's just a ton of them.
It's not war gear, so you're not buying war gear. So you wouldn't be buying carapace armor or a bolt gun or a las pistol or an extra whatever.
Would you rather have carapace armor for your badass Imperial Guard officer, or would you rather have hard to kill wound rolls of 1, 2, 3 always fail regardless under all circumstances?
Yeah,
I like that.
That seems much better.
When you're toughness 3, I'd really like that.
Yeah, that seems much really better than just a piece of war gear. So they're just cool abilities, special rules that characters can get. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of up to you on how you want to...
and then you can get improvements on your weapons. So there is a chart.
And characteristic mods.
So you're going to be like, I have a las pistol, but then I'm going to roll on this table and I can be like, my las pistol is +1 strength. It does double damage. It has better AP.
I got a las pistol that was tinkered with by Jericho.
I re-roll failed save, whatever.
What are the monkey bros are.
It inflicts mortal wounds sometimes. There's all kinds of cool stuff. So even if you have a stock guy who has something lame, it can end up being super cool. Yeah. And then most importantly, if you're into campaigns and kind of narrative play, the most important part, as you know, is that you get to name your weapon.
Oh, yeah. Commissar's las pistol. plus 2 damage.
Vera.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Vera.
There you go. But yeah,
So
it's
all
not,
in there.
It's not just war gear. It's actually not war gear at all. It's just really cool abilities you can get.
And then last but not least, there is a full 17, it's almost 20 pages. There is a 20-page basically mini version in here of Cities of Death.
Yes.
So Cities of Death has now, you get the full rules for...
It used to be called Cities of Death, and I think it was like Urban Warfare or whatever.
It's called Cities of Death because Urban Warfare is going to be coming out in the future in a few months. There's going to be a whole... Basically, this is a little mini introductory version of it that they're slipping into Chapter Approved, and there'll be a full standalone book for Urban Combat.
It's a lot of special rules, optional rules and stuff like that.
It's the same thing. You get 6 whole new missions for it. You get new stratagems. It tells you... it is an entire sub game that because you have to change the game a good amount if you want to play 40K on a board that's all super dense terrain.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that in a word.
Yeah.
Is,
and points. Did we mention that?
Yes.
We didn't talk about those.
And did we mention all the points are gone?
Yeah.
All right, really quick.
We did talk about this.
We did say that we had Wrath and Rapture.
Okay, can I just say it's 6 armies in one box? Just throw that out there.
Yes.
It's for both game systems.
It's for both game systems.
It is Warhammer 40K, Age of Sigmar. It is half Khorne, half Slaanesh.
Yes.
You can run each of those separately. You can run them together as a combined force for any games. That makes 6 armies that you can play in here.
And
special rules all around.
And because they received all new miniatures, the big news for Wrath and Rapture is that all of the units that received new miniatures got updated data sheets for both games, and it specifically says, hey, you use these data sheets; they replace the ones in your codex. Now, all of these updated data sheets, surprise, they're also in here.
Yeah.
So. Yes. So.
wait, can I see the box real fast? There's actually a really cool book in there.
Yes, you can. Oh, it's not in there. It's over there.
Let me grab it.
You go get it.
There's a couple of different things.
It's on the far right.
Yeah.
So the Infernal Enchantress is in there. You get all of her background.
It's in there. It's still in there.
It is not.
You only have these.
Those are the.
I think it's still in there.
I will go look.
Here, I'll do it.
Yeah, go ahead. The Infernal Enchantress is in there. She's pretty cool. In general, it looks like, as we saw here, the units that got upgraded are, looking really, really quickly, they're all at the very back of the book. Blood Crushers got an extra wound. Flesh Hounds now have a ranged attack, and they have a squad leader. They have a sergeant equivalent called the Gorehound, and he has a ranged attack because his bark is hot.
He spits hot fire.
His bark is so hot that... Yeah, I told you. It's there around somewhere.
I bet Go Boy took him.
Probably.
I'm going to say it. We're just going to blame him.
That's what happens. And Fiends received an extra wound. They've gone from 3 wounds to 4 wounds. Yeah. In general, most things across the board got a sergeant equivalent who's slightly better, has 1 extra attack normally, and they all got 1 extra wounds. They also strangely did that same thing with Blood Crushers, who did not receive an extra model. They just have 4 wounds now.
But I think that's great because Blood Crushers needed it.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be a big giant.
It's a juggernaut.
It's a juggernaut. It's a big giant bull.
It's a bloodletter on a juggernaut. Let's give him some wounds.
Made of brass, but somehow it had less wounds than like a fiend, which
was dumb.
Has loincloths.
Yeah, they're tough. They should be tough.
They should be.
Yeah, so, but the book, there's a book in there that I liked from a lore standpoint because it outlines the conflict between Slaanesh and Khorne.
Yep.
It goes into a lot more detail. It's just a little pamphlet, and it's neat because there's that book, which is kind of like the lore. There's the 40K book, and then the Age of Sigmar book.
Yes.
And those 3 booklets create this cool little mini decks.
The Age of Sigmar book, there are new battalions in there that are only in there. So there are a couple battalions in Wrath and Rapture.
Surprise, they use the same models.
Overall, it was going to, this is US prices for $160. It's a super good deal.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot. What's the model count in there? There's a lot of models. Right over there.
Let's see. There's 38 models total.
And of those 38, they're mostly,
there's a lot of new models.
And a lot of them are Cav. So they're, effectively double models. So, it's not like 38
The Fiends by this. I mean, I can just...
The Fiends are big models.
Picturing the prices in my head, the 3 Fiends is probably going to be in the neighborhood of $40 to $60 when it comes out.
It's basically half price.
Five Flesh Hounds, probably when those come out, another $40 to $60 box. Mm-hmm. You can look up the prices for Bloodletters, Blood Crushers right now.
The Seekers
and Demons. And then the 2 characters, if they follow the same pricing structure, those are going to be between $20 and $35 each. So... Yeah. You can do the math real quick on the box.
It gets to about $300 pretty fast.
Yeah.
And the box is $160. So
it's $160.
It is a super good deal.
Yeah. And if you wanted, it's kind of like if they took 2 start collecting boxes.
Yes.
And mashed them together.
Which is what I've been hearing from some retailers is that's what people are doing. Is go find a buddy. And one of you wants to play Slaanesh and one of you wants to play Khorne, and just go in and go halvesies on the box, and you have a super good deal.
Yeah. If you go with either half of this box, and if you needed to fill out a Demon's Army, you could buy the other 2 start collecting boxes, and you have like all 4 Chaos Gods represented. Mm-hmm. You have a pretty solid army base to start with, and then add units for flavor, however you want to play that. But I think this is a really good deal. Again, Chaos Demons are one of those armies that you can use in both systems. And it's just cool. So if you're looking for a way to like save some money and get into 40K and Age of Sigmar at the same time, Wrath and Rapture, yes, or a start collecting box really. So
all right, any last questions? That's pretty much it. I want to check one last time before we head on out. And all right, everyone. So thanks so much. We will be here next week as usual.
And what's going on this week? We've got painting.
We have painting on Wednesday, Veteran Sergeant, and Goat Boy. Oh, Goat Boy is going to be painting Fiends.
Oh.
So get ready for that. There's Fiendapalooza.
Pants optional.
Yes. It is cold in Austin.
I have to say that for Goat Boy.
It's cold during the winter. Goat Boy wears festive hats because it's cold in his painting room. I think he's going to wear we can request that he wears the chicken hat.
All
this Thursday.
So Goat Boy and
that's Wednesday. And then Thursday is Dark Apocrypha. It is a 40K week, and you better bet we are playing. Have the Sisters Army right 3 feet right there. We are playing 2,000 point Sisters versus someone who wants to get set on fire. We don't know what.
I do not want to get set on fire.
And we will see. We're still. It's a little vague of exactly who's going to be playing and who the opponents will be, but you better bet Sisters are going to be in there.
Sisters will be involved.
So come see the new Codex. We're going to be putting it through its paces in our studio on the table with the overhead. And that's Thursday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific.
Sweet.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will catch you guys later on. Have a good one.
Bye.